I built the Beatles studios, and they made me tea. While the Beatles were getting ready for their rooftop performance in London in 1969, John Lennon asked an engineer if he could have a home studio built. A frequent visitor to the Saville Row studios while the band produced hits like Get Back and Let It Be was Edward Veale, a resident of Hertfordshire. From his offices across the street, he would frequently receive calls to fix the Beatles' basement studio. Lennon's was the first of the 3 Beatles studios that Mr. Veale would construct. With Now and Then, the Beatles are topping the UK singles chart for the first time since 1969. Mr. Veale has been reflecting on his relationship with Liverpool's favourite sons. Mr. Veale, who is currently 82, claimed to have seen himself in the 2022 Get Back documentary directed by Peter Jackson, which was recorded in the Apple Corps Studios basement. The engineer from Hatfield, who is best known to fans for the Imagine music video, has happy memories of working at John Lennon's house at Tittenhurst Park, close to Ascot in Berkshire. He thinks that Ascot Sound Studios, his invention, was the first home recording studio in Europe. After using Abbey Road to record his debut with the Plastic Ono band the previous year, Lennon was eager to begin writing songs for his second solo album, Imagine. He would record at night and leave notes for Mr. Veale, who would finish building the studio the following day, with instructions. They would spend a few hours together in the afternoon. As Lennon, his wife Yoko Ono, and producer Phil Spector worked on the songs that would be included on the Imagine album, which was released in 1971, the engineer remembers being there. Actress Lana Clarkson was killed by Phil Spector in 2003 at his Hollywood home. Spector, who produced numerous pop records starting in the early 1960s, passed away in prison in 2021. The studio, which was extensively documented for several documentaries about the making of Lennon's first 2 albums, will be recognizable to followers of the musician. Some of these recording sessions were attended by former Beatles George Harrison and Ringo Starr. Mr. Veale may be seen working and fiddling around in these movies. After relocating to New York City at the end of 1971, John and Yoko sold Ringo the 72-acre Grade II listed home. Mr. Veale was tasked with packing up John Lennon's cherished home studio and relocating it entirely to a new site in New York. After Lennon's new US studio plans collapsed, Mr. Veale was tasked with disassembling everything and reinstalling equipment so Starr could utilize it before it departed Tittenhurst. George Harrison and Mr. Veale collaborated on his home studio in Henley-on-Thames, Oxfordshire, from 1972 until Harrison's death in 2001. In order to obtain some stained glass windows for the new facility, Harrison and Mr. Veale traveled to New York, and Harrison designated a portion of his Friar Park estate for the studio. Working with a Beatle was one of Mr. Veale's best recollections, he said, adding that Americans would come up to him and ask whether it was really George. Other musicians frequently dropped by the studio, including Roy Orbison and Bob Dylan, 2 of Harrison's traveling Wilburys bandmates. For decades, Mr. Veale claimed, he avoided becoming overly close to the people he worked with in order to concentrate on his business. However, he learned to socialize with Harrison and his pals.